Hi, thank you for the invitation and also thank you for the introduction. In the next half an hour, I will talk about more about the entrepreneurial design and how important UX and UI is for your organization. If you are a business owner or if you are a designer yourself, and consist about learning more about management. And yeah, I'm really looking forward, but let's dive right into it. Maybe some words about me. I'm Leo. I studied innovation management and design back then. And I worked at a lot of institutionals with a lot of technology focus. So I think my USP is the connection between management, design, and technology. And yeah, if I present myself a little bit more, I'm at the intersection between business and product development. I was part of the Manage More Scholarship, part of the Sigma Squared Society, worked together with Eon, BMW, Fraunhofer, and Unternehmertum, and some startups in very interesting areas like blockchain, edge computing, space tech, consumer tech, software engineering and hardware engineering as well. And yeah, right now I'm the co-founder of GLAICE. We are a medtech startup in the digital health area, and we are delivering a personalized assistant for people with type 1 diabetes. But enough from me, let's dive into it. And I've brought a story for you. And with me today is my friend Steve. My friend Steve is a computing nerd, and he sits right in front of a new technology. It is called the ISO MPEG Audio Layer 3. And the first reaction that Steve gave me was, wow, thanks, mate, sounds cool. But then I told him, okay, it's for reducing file size by 90% without loss of hearable audio quality. And Steve responded, wow, okay, nice. What can I do with this? As you already wonder. But for our sake and also Steve's sake, we have another Steve. And maybe some of you know this Steve. And Steve, too, like you already seen on the slide, can explain this technology in a little bit, more understandable way. And he did this with the iPod, because with the iPod, he described what we've already seen as 1,000 songs in your pocket. And yeah, that's the end. Thank you. Okay, that's not the end, but that's just the beginning, because if we look back more than 20 years ago, Apple invented the iPod and it quickly became a cultural phenomenon. And why does it become a phenomenon? Because it was a device which was capable of holding an entire music library in a highly portable package. So completely new. Back then, if you want to carry so much songs, you had to buy a huge bag to fit in all your CDs. And what I want to show you with this example is the difference between the ISO MPEG Audio Layer 3 and the iPod. So reducing file size by 90% without a loss of hearable audio quality, or 1,000 songs in your pocket. And on the left, you see the MP3 format. And what's the difference? On the one side, you can see a technology which is invented, which was a huge backed by science. And on the other side, you see the user experience, because someone was able to create a user interface for this technology to create the experience that people can, really enjoy this. And what was the iPod back then? The iPod was functional. It was 1,000 songs in your pocket. It was emotional, because it was a song for every mood you was in. And it was a social thing, so your playlist can save the party. And so this is what I want to talk about today. It is, how does it feel to use a product? And most of the time, it's not about the technology, it's about the interface we can create, the experience we can create for our users and customers. And Today, I want to talk about how you can create these experience and tell your story, and why UX is also the basis for successful organizations, because they can use it to communicate, create promises for the people, and also fulfill these promises. And how does it feel to use a product? So if we look at user experience design, I think some of you already had really many contact points with UX. And we have on the one side, the UX use design theories. So you use, for example, we will dive later on into more design theories. And on the other side, you can talk to your users and customers to understand them, to fulfill the UX requirements. So on one side, if we look at the design theories, you can use, for example, the 10 principles for good design, like by Dieter Rams, or you can use the design of everyday things to get inspired from Don Norman, or you can use the Gestalt principles by German psychologists, because they help you to get a framework how you can create a user experience. But on the other side, you have to talk to your users and customers to fulfill it, to understand them, to test with them your most critical assumptions, and choose the right setting and iterate your product so that you can create the most amazing experience. But why? Design has in general two tasks. On the one side, design has to be functional, and on the other side, it also has emotional. There are a lot more things design should be, like, for example, sustainable and also affordable, like also Dieter Rams mentioned in his 10 principles. But in general, we want to look at those two aspects, like a functional and emotional product today. And if we look at the market, we can see that most companies fail because they don't get the product market fit. And it's because they have a technology invented, like they had invested a lot of time and money into research and science to create amazing technologies. And on the other side, you can see the market. For example, you as a user who wants to use the technology and who wants to buy it. But you need to connect, to build a connection between this. And this is through UX and UI. Through your user interface design, you create the interface between the technology and the market. And you are able to build a product concerning out of an experience that the user can enjoy. And that's it in general. So great companies emerge from the interplay of design, technology, and the market. And then I'm not just showing you theory, I want to dive into the story of MP3. Because if we look at MP3, we can see back then there was the time scale and there is the competitive advantage. For example, some companies who did research and made a business in the area are better than others. And in the beginning, there was, for example, Fraunhofer. Fraunhofer is a research institute from Germany, and they invented back then the MP3 format. So they created a technology and made a lot of money with this. But then Apple came, and Apple, they took this technology and they created an interface so that people can use the technology in easy and intuitive in their everyday life with the iPod. And if we think about what was the next iteration, then came Spotify, and they created a digital experience with this technology. And as you can see, in the beginning, there was only the technology, but there were different companies who made it to create experience out of it. And UX and UI was the key factor for also Apple's innovation, but also Spotify. So to make sure user experience and user interface design are the way of creating innovation, because it's not only about an invention, so it's more about a successful market introduction. And you need to build that interface. And if we look, as a designer, you can create the interface to show the potential of the technology to the world. And it's very important to be always aware of these skills and the underlying power you have, that you can create from a technology a user experience through the right user interface. And as we look at Germany and USA, I really like this comparison, because in Germany, we have a lot of amazing engineering and technology research, and we are like, make it perfect and deliver the highest quality if we look at car makers like BMW or the research organizations. And in the USA, we have the technology transfer and the marketing. So they are able to sell it, make the user want it, and enable him or her to use it. And if we talk about big tech, it is always the USA which we are talking about, because they realized the potential of user interfaces and how to create a purpose-fitting user interface for technology to create an experience for the user and the customer, which is amazing and make them feel good. And I really like to call it the German engineering system, the German Ingenieurs-Syndrome, because we are creating technologies, but we are sometimes not able to create the interface between the people who use it. And if you create the interface, the value you can create is 10x, like, or even 100x. Like if you compare the MP3 format to the iPod, I think nobody of you or only few people know that Fraunhofer invented the MP3 format, but you all know who invented the iPod. It was Apple. And that's the amazing thing about user interface. It creates an experience which will stick into your mind. And as designer, you, or as your designers in your company, can give a thing they understand. So you can give people a thing that they understand, and you can make technology usable. And that's the next point where I want to dive deeper into entrepreneurial design. Because if we think about entrepreneurial design, there are two main things you need to understand to be an entrepreneurial designer. First, you need to understand the management and the technology aspects, because it helps you to talk with experts. And if you are a business owner, make sure that you designers understand how they can interact with technology and management. Because design is not only about making things beautiful, like we sometimes think. It's about improving things, also improving processes or a company strategy. But I will dive later into how design can improve processes. And so it is possible with your superpower of designing to discover new potentials, because you have another point of view on all the challenges people with an analytical background have. So always make sure to use your designer's perspective on the challenges in technology and also management. Because design is, as I already mentioned, not about how it looks, but about the process of things getting used. And it's a lot more than only the emotional aspect and things being beautiful and things being likable. And I brought to you an example. For example, I work a lot with engineers and scientists in my day-to-day business, and they always like the rational, explainable things. And on the other side, the designer's perspective cares more about the emotional aspects of the things. And these emotional aspects of the things, you can use this knowledge in so many areas. For example, if some scientists, which I worked back then in the technology transfer, sometimes they said, okay, that's not possible because it's not scientifically explainable. But sometimes it's not scientifically explainable yet. So in 10 years or in 100 years, it will be scientifically explainable. And you as a designer or a designer are in charge to help the people to try it out, to have the courage to do things, even if they are not scientifically explainable, but you know your gut feeling that it can work. And if we look at how companies work, then we can see on the one side, there is the customer and user. And if you are working great and you make enough revenue, your company survives. So in every company, the customer and the user is the heart, no matter in which area you are. And on the other side, the revenue streams are the ethereals, because it's the money you make and the possibilities you get. And so always make sure that you develop things which create an amazing interface and an experience for the user and the customer, because you need to convince them to buy your product or service. Otherwise, it won't work. And how do you convince people to buy things? Because you create an emotional bonding and they think, oh, it's amazing to have the new iPhone, because if I have the new iPhone, I'm one of those people who are thinking forward, who are futuristic oriented. Or it's easy, you need to make it easy to integrate a product into their life. And you do this by providing ergonomic principles. So how does it feel? And the design principles to make them people clear how to use it and how they can benefit from this tech or product. So in general, creating the interface between a user and customer, the technology and the company are the most important things. And design is a crucial skill there, because design is the connection between the user, the company, and the technology or the customer and user. And to show you a little bit of some examples, I brought you an experience out of my past. First, I worked at DDCom. That was the beginning of my career. And there was a huge workload. We had key accounts with more than 60,000 people and a high growth and not enough people to do all the contract management, because we had a contract for every person. But then I realized maybe we need to rethink our user experience, how we work with the contracts in our company. And so I realized maybe we can automate the process and make the user experience for our employees more easy, so that they love to work in this process, because before that, they hated the process. And what I learned was that user experience and user interface design is a lot more than only making products beautiful. For example, today we have the challenges to build more people-focused structures in companies and startups, because it's the war of talent is very hard to attract the right people. And we need to make people love to work at our company and interact with our culture. So, for example, our employees are the heart of our business and our business creation. So without them, we can't create the value for our customers. And so it is important to also consider user interface design and user experience design if we think about how we set up our company structures. So it's a lot more than making things beautiful. For example, another example, at Fraunhofer, we had a 300 people event and the COVID-19 pandemic came. And so we needed to rethink a whole user experience of an offline event. And it was not only building a product, it was about building an event and how does it feel and how can we create an interface for our event, for the people, that they really love to interact with it. And this shows that user experience can be also a lot about processes, a lot about company structures, and a lot about how we create in general everything which other people get into contact with. And I have another example which I really love. It's called ProGlove. ProGlove is a manager more startup. I think it's more than 7 years old now. And they created the intersection between engineering and design. So they created a beautiful product which was easy to use with the technology they had at their core. And they were loved by users and customers. And they just realized, oh, there is a big problem. For example, if I want to scan something, I hate it to always take my scanner pistol, scan something, and then put my scanner pistol back. And they realized, hey, why don't we build a company, which was, they made an exit last month, which was nearly $500 million. So this shows the potential of creating a new user experience. And now I want to share some of my product learnings. So I realized product development and the design you need to do in the process is not about the feature which stands in the end, but a lot about the process. How do you create your process to get to your feature? Because your features will come and go, but your process will stay the same, and you always will use your process to create new things. And if you iterate your process, you can create features faster than ever and faster than lightning. And the most important thing is also to iterate the process over time and to make it better. And so you have an idea, and within some minutes, you can create a product out of this. And if you use a design system, it's even easier to do just a drag and drop and create amazing features and amazing products. So in general, it is very important to focus on the right things, to fall in love with the problem and not your product. And then realize how can you deliver a solution and how can you improve the interface and the experience of the product and the solution you are providing. And then use continuous implementations and continuously improve your system. And don't think everything is nice. Test it with your users and know if it's nice or if it doesn't work. And something I learned also was about, in the beginning, I was really uncertain. Do I do the right things? Do I have the right problems which I'm addressing with my solution? But over time, I tested it and it decreases over time. So my uncertainty decreased over 2 years. But in the same way, my confidence increased. So if I tested and iterated my product, I decreased my uncertainty and increased my confidence. And that's very important for me, because I think that's the most important thing, how you can create great products. If you are confident that you're doing the right things, and you only can get that confidence if you test and interact with your users and customers. And the last thing before I have some things which are very important for me to tell them to you are 3 easy steps to do things. First, do things, make them happy, and be fast and be crappy. And if you don't know how to do things, write 20 experts, speak with 3 of them, and then make sure that they can tell you how you can maybe find a solution to the problem you're currently challenged with. And then do it. And if you can't do it, search for people who can do it. And if you can find them, speak with 20 experts how to find the right people. And then do things and make them happy. And what's very important for me is, in Germany, we need people with design knowledge to create a high-tech and deep-tech revolution. We have so many patents, research, and technologies in the world, but we don't have enough people to bring these things to life, to create interfaces so that people can really interact with the technologies. And also, we need more people-focused leaders and entrepreneurs. And as designers, you are the people, you build the interface between people's things, people and processes, people and products, and people and strategy. And you are creating a lot of the experience people have in the world every day. So be aware what things you can create and be aware of your power as a designer. And my takeaway for you out of this short keynote is, as a designer, make sure to learn management and entrepreneurship and get a basic understanding of tech so that you can talk with everyone in the company. As a business owner, it's easy. Hire designers so that they can create the user experience and the user interface you need. And A designer's view on business is gold. So that's it. And if you have questions, I'm very happy to answer them right now. And if you want to reach out, here are my contact details. And because I always talked about user interface and user experience design, here are the indications when you should reach out to whom. Thank you.